blessings beyond our imagination. You blessed us and allowed us to become the most wealthy and most powerful country that the world's ever known. May we as individuals show our appreciation and thanks that we are part of America. Father, our prayer is that we as a people would never forget or turn away from your advice and your blessings. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Darryl Cook.
Here.
Buddy Holly.
Here.
Tim Johnson.
Here.
Kenny Me.
Here.
Sam Russell. Lonnie Wright.
Here.
I'd like to declare a quorum. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the November 5th, 2019.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Cook. Councilman Johnson.
No, sir.
Councilman Cook. Floor is open for discussions. Call the roll, please.
Darryl Cook.
Yes.
Buddy Holly.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Kenny Me. Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
Motion is approved. Need a motion to pay the bills. Motion by Councilman Wright. Second by Councilman Holly. Councilman Wright.
No, sir.
Councilman Holly.
No, sir.
Floor is open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Darryl Cook.
Yes.
Buddy Holly. Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Kenny Me.
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
Motion carries. This time we'd like to hear from delegation. If you would like to address this council, please come to the podium and state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Hi, I'm Bruce Knobloch, the president of the Cornstalk Heights Historical Community Organization. A couple of weeks ago at the meeting, I came in pretty much in a rush as I had just driven into town and was excited to share with you on how the Walden Avenue landscape project that we had just started was looking, especially with the addition of the flags. In saying that 2 weeks ago, I totally forgot to address and appreciate those which had a lot to do with it. This is Bob and Deborah Herndon, which are our neighbors in the Cornstalk Heights community. Deborah actually came up with a landscape plan, which was shared with the city back in the springtime as well as with the Harriman Garden Club. And Bob had worked with her, and it was through his direction also that we were able to get some assistance. But the main thing I wanted to do, this has been a collaborative with the city. And it was with the help of Drac and his team of tree trimmers that was able to clear the canopy of the existing trees along Walden. And Charlie Jones that had worked with us, especially with the planting of the trees with the prison crew, that was really able to make it as quickly as we did. They also were the ones that put the flags up. Bob and Deb were there at the time that they were working with them, and I thought I'd just allow them a couple of minutes, because from what I'm understanding, it really shows the community involvement and interest that we have within the city.
And we'd just like to thank the city, and especially Charlie Jones' crew, and the men in orange jumpsuits for helping us with it, doing all the planting. I think we planted over 60 roses, 6 redbud trees. We hung 12 flags at each of the 3 block intersections.
And 2 of the young men actually had gardening experience. And the youngest one said he was so proud of it. He said, when I get home, I'm going to bring my 3-year-old back to let him see what Daddy did while he was gone. So doing
Good
community
collaborative.
service is a good penance.
Yeah, collaborative effort. It's really, really good. Turned out great. We still have work to do. We have some hydrangeas to do in the spring.
Yeah, the theme is red, white, and blue. So the hydrangeas will be white and blue, and the roses are red. So, just for your information.
Thank you very much for supporting us.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Also, I wanted to share with the City Council that we had a public meeting held this last Sunday on the Cornstalk Heights interest of purchasing the old Christian Church. It was a unanimous vote by all of those present as well as absentee ballots. And so we are meeting on Thursday this week with the board, in which I expect we'll have the final approval to move forward with it. Probably will have the transaction done by the end of this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruce. I went to the meeting Sunday, and the ones of you all that couldn't attend, you missed a really good meeting, good presentation. It's very exciting as to what the historical group is working on and what they're doing. We appreciate all that. It's making our whole town look and feel so much more homey, and we appreciate all that you all are doing. Anyone else like to address council? If not, we'll go into reports. Fire department.
Mayor and council, my monthly stats, don't really have nothing else to report on. I'll take any questions if there's got any.
Any new work on the training facility?
HEB is gonna start hauling in dirt like when they do work, to start filling in the property. We went down and burnt the rest of the brush piles. They helped us stack them up and stuff. And they agreed to, because they needed another place to dump dirt. We got a very low place in there, and they're gonna start dumping dirt in there and leveling it off for us, where we can start moving forward with that project.
You got any new extraction tools or any of those big containers in yet?
Still working on them. Hard to find, but we're still looking.
Thanks, Chief.
Yes, sir, appreciate it.
Police department.
That's why I didn't being so loud. You all should have got my stats last week for the month. And if you have any questions about it, I'll be more than happy to answer them for you.
You have anything? Police department.
And if you all don't mind, you know, sometimes we take what we hear and we get what we get, but when I came back on a Monday a week or so ago, and I had a letter in my box at the office I'd like to read to you all, and it's from a paramedic, and it's about one of our officers, and it says, "Dear Chief Tapp, we're writing this letter to let you know, about the amazing job Officer Nestor Varez did on one of our scenes this week. He arrived to find a patient with a stab wound to the left side of her chest. Her wound was close to her heart, and due to her small size, could have easily penetrated her lung or heart. Officer Varez arrived on scene, immediately acted, applying an Israeli battle dressing from his own first aid kit, and he was able to slow down the bleeding until we could get the patient to definitive care. Had Officer Varez not acted so quickly, it is easy to say that the patient could have bled to death before we arrived on the scene. Because of his actions, this patient was able to return to her family after a short hospital stay." And it goes on to talk about the turning and stuff, but I would just like to mention this and point out that sometimes we take a lot of criticism in the community as police officers anywhere. Not just, I'm not saying Harriman, but anywhere. County, any other city, and stuff like this just kind of touches me, that I want y'all to know how proud I am of some of these guys that go out here every day in Harriman City, Roane County, Kingston, Oliver Springs, and how much they put into their job. And I just wanted everybody to know that I received this letter, and Officer Perez was going to come tonight, but he actually was returning from vacation and had a blowout and couldn't make it back into town in time. He called to let me know. And that brings me, this week, the Sheriff's Department, Operation Reach, that they do for the school kids. We did it this past Saturday, and I'd like to thank Captain Owenby, Bear Tidwell, Alicia Bates, and Greg Russell for helping me with the roadblock Saturday. And Mr. Butler contacted me and told me how much we raised. And also to the officers of the Harriman Police Department, when November came around, they come and asked me about No Shave November, and I said, well, if you guys will donate $20 apiece to Operation Reach, we'll let you do it. And we actually raised $240 towards Operation Reach for that cause. And I really appreciate the job that they're doing and how much they are looking at the community and trying to really be an asset for the city of Harriman.
Thank you, Chief. We appreciate that. We really appreciate all the work that the men and women do in our police department and our fire department. And appreciate what you do. Next item, new business. Discuss and possibly approve first reading on ordinance 1119-01. An ordinance to abandon a proposed alley adjacent to Riverside Baptist Church. Kevin, do you want to address this?
This was a request the church brought initially to the Planning Commission, requesting that the city abandon this alley so that they can obtain the access to it, and it will play into some construction changes that they want to make there on the property. If you choose to approve it, this would be the first reading. We would have to come back for a second reading before it becomes official. Under the Winslow rights, the church would need to speak with the holders of those rights with regard to obtaining the ownership if the city abandons that section of the alley.
Can I speak on that?
In just a minute, let me get a motion in a second to talk about it.
All right.
I get a motion to approve it.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, second. Second by Councilman Holly. Councilman Johnson?
I have nothing.
Councilman Holly. All right, the floor is up. You yield the floor to...
Yes. There isn't but two people on that alley, and I'm one of them. And I want to bring this to attention that I was brought to this home in 1950, and it's going to affect me pretty well over where I'm at. And they came and talked to me about this, and the more I've thought about it, I was talked to and told, said, well, 3 years down the road we may build it. We're wanting to build it. And I said, well, 3 years from now, I'm getting this word from this one guy. He's a good guy, don't take me wrong. But who's to say he's going to be at the church or he's going to be there when he's dead? How am I going to get any proof that they're going to do what they said they were going to do? And at that time when they told me, I said, I don't have a problem with you closing the alley, but I have to have access. All the years I lived there, I've set my whole place up to be able to do what I want to do. And I've got a 26-foot camper. I've got an extended cab truck, so you know what it's going to take to get it out and put it in. And then I've got a 20-foot boat, and the same thing. All right, the whole access to my place, the way I do things, is that alley. And all it does is go straight through. I can't come in backwards and get it in there. I can't come in any other way but come up that alley, up that hill, pull forward, and then back it in. That's the only way. What they had told me they were going to do was they thought they'd come up the hill and then turn and go through the parking lot on the addition they're going to build and take it. And the only thing I'm saying about that, I have to have some proof on what they're wanting to close that off, because it's going to just totally ruin me. I have no other way to get in my yard with those things that I've told you about with that alley. And if they put it in a parking lot, and the next thing you know, if they're parking in it, then how am I gonna get out and how am I gonna get in back in? So I wanna bring that to consideration when you talk about doing it. I want you to look at the situation I'm in, and not just grant it, because it's a church, I understand. But I want you to consider me, and I got one other neighbor, just two of us. But I want you to look at those items. If they can give me proof or show me on a drawing how they're gonna do it, I have nothing but what's been said. Well, I can't accept that all the way. So that's what I've got to say about it.
Floor is open for council discussion.
He has a point. They need to at least draw something up and let him know what they're gonna do with it.
I did talk to the city manager right before the meeting to ask him what's where we're at with it and what we're looking at. This is the first reading. We have to approve this for 2 readings. Because I said, what if we approve it? Does it shut him down? The first reading, just basically, what I would like to see is if it's approved the first reading, before it would be approved the second reading, is something drawn up, an agreement with Mr. Love and the church that he has access to be able to do what he needs to do with his stuff before we approve it the second reading. I've been over and looked at it, and I'm grateful for the church to want to build. It's great that they're needing to build, and you know, I support the church, but I think that we have to look at his property and what happens. So I did talk to the city manager, and if you all approve this tonight, before you all approve it again, I would hope that there's an agreement drawn up between Mr. Love and the church that he's looked at and he's signed off on, that he's good with it, and we move forward. Does that sound fair to everybody?
Can we amend that motion, Mayor, to require that agreement to be reached between the two parties before?
You can if you.
I agree with that.
So your motion is to approve it
For both parties.
with the agreement that the church will get with Mr. Love, and they'll have an agreement before
Yep.
we approve it the second reading.
Yeah, I didn't know all that, what he explained, but that he doesn't need to be put in a pinch just for them getting that property. I mean, if they can agree to help him out where he won't have no issues getting in and out, I'm fine with that, if he's okay with it.
Are you good with that on your second reading motion?
Sure.
We have a motion and a second to approve it on first reading with the agreement that the church will get with Mr. Love and have something drawn up before our next meeting, before we approve it on the second reading. Any other?
Yeah, Allison, would that be something that have to be like a deed amendment where you put on there right-of-way access both
Call
ends?
it like an easement or something. I know there was some more detail conversation at Planning Commission with some more detailed maps and a drawing, so maybe we could get that information for the property owner. But I think they probably would have to do an easement or something for a right-of-way or something for him.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Does this involve the Winslow rights in any way?
Yes, sir.
Well, in that case, do you have the ability to abandon it?
We have the ability to abandon it. We don't have the ability to give it to the church or to Mr. Love. That would have to come through the Winslow rights. They'll have to approve that, but we have the ability to abandon the alley.
Has the church bought it from the Winslow owner?
They can't until we abandon it.
I see. It,
And I think both sides are, I think both sides will come together. I think they'll have something. And I've seen some of the mapping, and it does show that there's plenty of access to do what you want to do, but I know you want something to make sure of that.
Well, I haven't seen anything at all on the direction. I know what it was told to me. I'm not a dummy. I've been in construction for 38 years. I know what's going on. But what I'm saying is, I have to protect myself. And I've been approached to buy the place. and I wouldn't sell because we're old. And you know, what they give me for my old place, that wouldn't put me in anything. And so what it ended up doing is just putting jeopardy on our income and how we live. And we resisted to sell. So I feel like I'm being pushed out. But since I've been there, they built a project. That was one thing that pushed me. And then they turned around and there was a thing happened with the church and me that was wrong. And that made me bitter. And I was a member of the church for years. Now this is coming. And I know it's been promised. And I really believe Gene is fair what he's telling me. But still, when you get down to the point that you're going to shut it down and I have no way of getting that camper in and out, then I have to go pay somebody to keep it where it's in my yard, or I fish bass tournaments, I've got this bass boat I got to get out all the time. I mean, things like that. That access I've had for, well, it's been there since I was a kid. I was raised right there. And then to shut it down and not have no access to the alley, it just kind of fouls me up. And I guess your garbage people and your utility board and everybody has to use that alley. Even the post office uses the alley. But they come in and out of there all the time. And but what I'm trying to say is, and the church uses it an awful lot right now. So I've dealt with the church for years. I've got nothing against them. It's just that my wife and I feel like we're being pushed, and we need some protection.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve it based on them getting an agreement with Mr. Love, and before we'll approve the second reading, or before it comes back the second time. Any other discussion? Call the roll.
Gerald Cook,
Yes.
Buddy Holly,
Yes.
Tim Johnson,
Yes.
Kenny Me,
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes.
Motion carries. That's all on the agenda. Council remarks, Councilman Meade.
Yeah, I just got a question. I don't know if I missed a meeting or an email, but I've got a couple of phone calls about the way we're gonna do the city basketball rec program. Are we gonna be a pay-to-play city now? And did I just miss the meeting where we took that up or something?
I think that the rec committee met and decided to put in the bylaws or something where you pay $25 to play.
They did.
Did that come back in front of council? Because I know when I was on the golf board, if we wanted to change the rates or whatever, we had to come back to the city. If we wanted to give any type of special deal to try to bring back play when we got the new greens, that all had to go to the city council and any financial. Because it kind of caught me off guard because I've not seen anything on it in any, transmissions from
And
Kevin
that may have
or
been
you
when
or
you had a golf
anybody.
board before you had a city manager type government. But once you went to a golf committee,
Well,
those
you
things
lose.
may have changed. I don't know.
Well, I think you lose power in committee versus the board,
I think you
and
do.
we still had to bring it back to the council.
Is that something that would?
Well, I mean, it's just, and I'm just going, I have no idea how the program's set up now, I've not been told, but I was told by the people, they're, we'll pay if you can, pay to play, but they're not gonna charge at the door. I have no idea what this program's like, and then you kind of get blindsided, so I just wanted to know what was going on. And
I think what they've done is it's $25 per kid to play, and when you have 2 kids it goes down, when you have 3 it goes down, and 3 is the most at what you pay, but I think it may be like $40 for 3 kids or something. But what they've done, they've eliminated paying at the gate, which the gate is $3 a game. We have 10 games a year, so that's $30 per individual. Well, it's been putting a burden on parents that have 2 parents, that's $60 a year. So what the rec board thought about doing was having each kid pay $25, eliminate the gate fee, which would eliminate a worker having to work the gate all day, which would save that money on that. The rec is losing some money by doing away with gate fee, but everybody that we play, Rockwood, Midway, everybody don't have a gate fee. we're the only ones, but everybody else charges the players to pay. We're still the lowest of anybody around to pay at $25. I think Kingston is $45. Most of them are higher than that. And I think some of the other thing is that they're trying to get it to where you buy into the program. We have a lot of kids every year. We may have 300 kids sign up and only 250 come out because there's no obligation for those kids to play, which is okay, except it kills your teams when you pick teams and you have sponsors and you go out and buy uniforms and then these kids don't show up. So their thought process is, you charge $25, they're more for that kid showing up and playing because you bought into the program. And I think Harriman, it's the last known city that I know that doesn't charge to play. But this saves you money instead of costs you money. And what we told them, I think what they told them is, if you come to sign up, you don't have $25, set up a payment plan over a certain amount of time to pay that $25 because you're not paying gate fee anymore. So I think that was the concept of, it's costing you less to play. Even if you've only got one parent, it's still less to play than it was last year by not having a gate fee.
Because I know we always use that as one of our, we don't charge, we cover the players and that type. So is this moving on to the baseball, football programs, any of them?
I think all of them.
Could we maybe see what they've written down and
Charlie's got all of it. We had a meeting last.
And it may need to be something that comes before the council, I have no idea.
And it wouldn't be, I wouldn't think it'd be a bylaws change because the program would change. But I know anytime we had any changes financially, it came back to this group.
Right.
Because a lot of people supported the not paying to play and even if it cost the city a little money.
Right. I've always supported the not pay until the last couple of years because I think it's costing more. What happens is most people don't carry cash anymore. The younger generation they carry plastic. We don't take plastic. So when you get to a game, we've got parents and stuff, I don't have any money. So they won't pull out plastic, we don't take plastic. So this eliminates the plastic part. It made sense for what they was looking at doing. Matter of fact, we approved it under the last rec director to start doing that. It just hasn't got to, he wasn't there when they started it, but it was approved through the last time. This was approved back last year to start, we just hadn't started yet. So that's.
Right, I mean, I didn't hear anything about it last year either, so I mean, it doesn't,
Right.
be kind of nice to know about that stuff before we actually start and people say, hey, I called, and they say, well, we're charging this year, and caught everybody off guard, not just me, obviously, all the people who signed the kids up, it's caught them.
It's been advertised all over Facebook, all over the
Well,
pages.
I
all
don't play
over everything.
Facebook, as you know, so, anyway.
You don't have Facebook?
No. Don't do it.
I don't know that does it need to come before council, Kevin? I have no idea. Or Allison, I don't know.
I'm not sure offhand, we'd have to see how they're organized, I think.
Yeah, I'd have to research it and see.
I mean, the police committee doesn't go in and decide what they're gonna spend, it comes back before the fire committee, it comes back before the board, I mean.
I don't recall us deciding what the fire department's gonna charge for their haunted house, but
We got it approved, and they told us what they were gonna charge, I would think it was similar to that. Anyway, that's all I had.
Councilman Holly.
Just one comment, not on anything we discussed tonight, but when we talked about demolishing the hospital, and I'm not sure that would be financially responsible, and I'll tell you why. The building's not derelict, it's in good shape as far as appearances are concerned. The other is, I can't decide that it's responsible if we borrow $400,000 or $500,000 to tear it down to save $60,000 or $50,000 a year in utilities. I would think that the interest alone on that $400,000 loan would be more than that. Charles can tell me tomorrow, but I'm sure it would be. And plus, we don't have a potential buyer for any property on Roane Street that I know of. We've got a lot of it for sale signs on it, but nobody's buying it. So I just don't know if that's a really financially responsible thing to do right now. If we have to tear it down later, fine. But I just can't see borrowing all that money when we could probably use it for something more appropriate than just a parking lot. That's all.
Councilman Wright? Councilman
No,
Johnson?
sir.
Councilman Cook? The only thing I have is decorating has started in the city of Harriman for Christmas. The parks has started today. Downtown started yesterday. Thank you, fire department, for what you all are doing. Businesses have started. The start of the Christmas holiday sales starts this Friday in the city of Harriman, so everybody get out and support your local businesses. We appreciate all they do, and that's, I'm supposed to talk about Christmas decorations, ain't I didn't write it down. That's all I have. Do I have a motion to waive the agenda rule to discuss some Christmas decorations? Motion.
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye? Any opposed, like sign. We budgeted some money this year to buy some Christmas we budgeted some money, and the purpose was to start working on our Christmas decorations. We haven't bought any in a long time, and we have been looking at some different things for the downtown and the off streets of the downtown, and me and Kevin have been looking at some things that would go when you come across the bridge, where we've been putting the banners instead of putting the banners because they won't hold. We've looked at putting a decoration that is welcome as you come into Harriman. That, and then some reefs that go on the poles, commercial reefs, and then, is that correct? And then some lighting. And we have set, I think, $10,000 aside in the budget for some of that, and we're asking council's permission to spend up to $7,000 of that to buy new Christmas decorations. Motion by Councilman Wright. Second by Councilman Johnson. Councilman Wright. Councilman Johnson.
I agree with you. I think it would really make it look good downtown.
Floor is open for discussion.
I just got a question. Waiting this late, can we still have them here in a timely manner for this Christmas?
We should be here the first week of December.
I think the lights will be here sooner than that. They should be here by the end of the week, maybe. And then the long thing that will go across Roane Street will be here by the 1st of December. That was one of my questions too, to make sure that it would be here.
Yeah, I didn't want to, show up the 20th of December and spend that store. Yeah.
Any other questions? Call the roll, please.
Darryl Cook,
Yes.
Buddy Holly,
Yes.
Tim Johnson,
Yes.
Kenny Me,
Yes.
Lonnie Wright.
Yes. Motion carries. Anything else need to come before this council? Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Second? Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign?
All rise. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. This Honorable Commissioners meeting of Roane County, Tennessee is now in session. The Honorable Randy Ellis, Chairman, presiding. God bless these United States, the great state of Tennessee, and this honorable meeting. At this time, our Commissioner David Bell will lead us in prayer. Afterwards, please remain standing to the pledge of the American flag.
All right, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, come before you tonight, just thanking you for the opportunity just to wake up this morning. Lord, that I was able just to be up and to see your goodness as the sun rose.
Yeah.
Lord, I just come to you humbly, asking personally that the 25 souls that I've seen saved this week would be nourished by the church.
Amen.
I ask you that the church also rise up here. I ask you that the leaders in the church rise up. That's the only thing, Lord, that's going to help our communities and our country.
Yeah.
I ask that the leaders in the community, the leaders right here, pray before decisions, so it will be a godly decision, Lord. And I thank you for all these guys. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and stand in the gap. And I ask that you put it on our hearts that weighs heavy, that the decisions we make impacts lives for the better or for the worse, Lord. Lord, I thank you for your son who died for us.
Yeah.
The opportunity for salvation, for most of all, forgiveness.
Yes.
And Lord, it's just so awesome that you think that much of us. Lord, I ask that you be with these leaders at the highest level down to the lowest level, and just put a burden in their heart to do the next right thing, Lord. Lord, thank you again for the breath of air that you allowed us to breathe this morning. It's in your Son's Jesus' name we ask you and thank you for these things. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. If you have a cell phone, please turn it down. Thank you, Chairman. Yes, Mr. Moore. Go ahead.
I'd like to thank everybody for their prayers and their gifts, cards and everything during the loss of my mother. It means a whole lot to me. Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I still remember Commissioner Moore in our prayers, and most of us realize how hard it is to lose a mother and a parent, so especially remember Mr. Moore in your prayers. Right quick before we get started, we always try to make it customary to recognize elected officials that's here busy today. We got State Representative Kent Calfee, State Senator Ken Yeager. They'll be coming up in a second. We got Bobby Anderson. He is a city councilman from the city of Rockwood. Thank you all for coming. I don't think I've missed anyone. Without objection, if it's all right with the commission, I want to go ahead and move a few things to the front before we even get started. I want to go ahead and recognize State Representative Kent Calfee and State Senator Ken Yeager.
Okay.
Right quick, just let the record reflect we have 14 present commissioners per our roll call, and we have one absent as of the moment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the best things about this job is recognizing individuals or groups for their accomplishments. And we have two tonight. The first one we're going to talk about is the Roane County Rescue Squad on their 60th anniversary. We've been trying to get this done for a few months, and there's always some issue. And I'd like to give a little personal note. Back in the day when we had a very active community club at the Cave Creek, when all the stuff started coming in and out of the garden, and all the old saints, most of them are gone now, the old ladies that my mother and a lot of them that fixed an unbelievable meal, and they'd come up and show us the latest rescue equipment they had, and as the saying is, a good time was had by all, and I sure do miss those days. It's been a long time. And I'm not going to read the whole thing. This is from myself, Senator Yeager, and Representative Travis. And just briefly, it's upon the occasion of the 60th anniversary, whereas it is fitting that we should salute the men and women of rescue squads who, in the course of discharging their vital public duties, provide services that dramatically improve communities and outcomes for individuals seriously injured or in peril. Whereas one such group is the Roane County Rescue Squad, which has a staff of the highest quality, skilled, and dedicated, and celebrating the 60th anniversary of public service this year. And whereas founded in 1959, the Roane County Rescue Squad has since grown to become one of the very best rescue squads in the state of Tennessee. And Ken, if you'd like to read some, just quit when you take an ocean. We'll give them a proclamation.
I'll bring it to a conclusion. Where the members of the Roane County Rescue Squad are truly dedicated to the health and well-being of their fellow Tennesseans for their prodigious efforts on behalf of the people of this state should be recognized. And then the language continues, be it resolved by the House of Representatives of the 111th General Assembly with the concurrence of Senator Yeager and others, that we do hereby extend our best wishes on the celebration of their 60th anniversary. And let me add that in years past I had the privilege to serve on the board for the rescue squad, and that was certainly one of the most pleasant experiences that I had, because I got to witness firsthand the work that these men and women do to save lives, and the preparation that they make. They are really very dedicated to their job, and this is the least we could do to recognize that service.
You all will stand up here right here with the student representative and the senator, just right up here in front of the podium. Where do you want? Right up here, just circle around here, y'all.
And like I said, it's always a great thing to honor a group that's accomplished so much. So with that, I'm going to turn that over to whoever wants it. And as they say, it's suitable for framing.
Would you like to say anything?
Yeah, but just from all of us that have been in the rescue squad for quite a few years, J.T. Robinson right here is one of the founding members from 1959. And now you get it.
No, yeah.
Here, I'll share it with you. There we go. And all the captains and all the members in the past, and our board of directors, which there's 3 of them sitting in here tonight, and a past board member in here. So thank to everybody that supports us, and hope to see another 60 years.
Any commissioners like that?
I just think it's fitting that we pass by your garage every day thousands of times over the period of years. We don't think much about it until we read about you've done in the paper, whether it's on the water, in the woods, in a cave, wherever. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Yeager. Representative Calfee has one more.
Now this one's probably not popular as that one was. This is recognizing Ron Berry upon his election to the Board of Directors of the National Association of Counties. And whereas it is a pleasure of the members of the General Assembly to recognize those civic leaders who continue their communities to their communities and improve Tennessee and move it forward. Whereas such Tennessean is Ron Berry, who was recently elected to serve on the Board of Directors of the National Association of Counties, NACO.
And let me say that having served in some of these associations when I was in county government, I'm aware how important these particular leadership positions are, particularly the one that Mr. Berry was elected to. It is certainly a recognition of his ability and their confidence in him. And I'm glad to join Representative Calfee on this resolution commending him for this achievement.
And this is signed by Ron Travis, Representative Ron Travis, Representative Calfee, Senator Yeager, Governor Bill Lee, Speaker of the Senate, Randy McNally, and Speaker of the House, Gun Caston. So,
Mr. Berry?
Is it legal to cast? He was the man then.
Good to see you in the paper now.
Mr. Berry, would you like to say a few words?
Of course he would.
I don't,
Just a few.
25 words or less.
I appreciate this very much. I appreciate serving Roane County as well as all the other 94 counties in the state on the NACO board. And NACO is a great organization that serves us really well. And thank you guys. Appreciate you very much.
Also, a quick reminder, Senator Yeager threatened bodily harm if I didn't mention his chili supper is Friday night from 5 to 7 at Roane State in benefit of the Roane County United Way. So he said he hopes to see everyone there. If you hadn't had tickets yet, he'd be happy to sell you some. Also, without objection, I would like to go ahead and move a special order up presentation of Resolution 1119-S01 honoring the Kingston High School golf team. Do I have a motion? Motion by Commissioner Bell, second by Commissioner Wilson. Commissioner Bell.
I believe David Boshears is the one that put this
Sorry about
resolution.
that. If you want, you may flip it back and you let him get the motion.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get the motion and you can get the second.
Okay, you want me to?
Go right ahead.
Well, I make a motion.
Go ahead.
I make a motion to honor the golf team, because they turn around here, and that's a big thing, I mean, at least second place even in the state, with that many kids playing, or young people, they're not kids anymore, they're young men. And they've done an excellent job, and they've had two excellent coaches, because I know both of them.
Mr. Wilson.
No, I concur with it. I'm very proud of your accomplishment. It's something you can raise your head high about, and Roane County is proud of you. Kingston's proud of you, and I just appreciate it. You've done a good job, guys.
Mr. Bell.
So Jack,
As anyone knows, golf's not an easy sport, so that's a big accomplishment for you all. So I got a motion by Commissioner Brashear, second by Commissioner Wilson. We'll do this on a voice vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. If you all could come up, guys. That be.
I gotta get out of here. I got a big watch. Which one the Woody?
it ain't no candy.
I'll have Commissioner Bell go ahead and read the resolution for you all while they're together here.
Resolution honoring the Kingston golf team, I'm not gonna say high school every time, for their winning performance. Whereas the Kingston golf team excelled in postseason play, and whereas the Kingston golf team finished runners-up in the TSSAA Division I golf tournament, and whereas the Kingston golf team players are commended for their efforts and their dedication to the game, and whereas Coach Mike Spanky Neal and Assistant Coach Landon Harden are to be commended for their leadership and their dedication to the team, whereas it's altogether fitting and proper that the Kingston golf team be honored for their performance in the regular season and postseason play. Now thereof it be resolved that the Roane County Commission does hereby honor the Kingston golf team for their winning performance. Be there resolved that the copy of the resolution be presented to the coaches, Spanky Neal and Landon Harden, and the players Jesse Griffith, Blake Woody, Colby Johnson, Ben Mullis, Logan Carter, Malcolm Sherbine, Caleb Tejeda, and Brady Reynolds.
Coach, would you like, either one of y'all like to say something?
I just want to say we appreciate y'all having us. We try to represent Kingston and the county as good as we could. These kids were a pleasure to coach. I look forward to coaching them again next year. I look forward to the seniors succeeding in what they choose to go on to do. And just, I can't say enough about these nine boys that I coached this year. It was something special.
Yeah, this isn't the first time Kingston's been in the spotlight with at least one of the coaches. And I've personally been to the state twice with 2 different teams and watched us win twice. So that was when I was in high school, which is far enough back.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
You did say you went to watch, though. You didn't play, right?
No, they wouldn't have me swing golf club.
No, he brought back a souvenir though.
Yeah, that's right.
They hadn't discovered graphite at that time.
No.
I'd like to thank everybody for having us tonight. Special group of kids representing our city and county well. You know, we won 41-3 records, pretty good season, and we've laid the foundation, and we're looking to do better next year. So this group's been great, and look forward to the future of our program.
Very good.
Guys, would y'all like to say anything? Now's your opportunity.
Good jackets.
They said
That's right, go Jackets, baby.
They
That's
said
right.
as much as they wanted a civics lesson, they asked if they could get out here as quick as they could. But thank you guys again. Coach, Commissioner Brashears will get you all the resolutions today. All right,
Thank you.
So we are going to do a resolution for
Yeah, okay, yes. We did.
Awesome trip, man.
Thanks, Dave.
Thanks, Coach.
Just to make it official, Resolution 11-19S01 was adopted unanimously. Right quick, two more announcements. We're going to recognize Mr. Carter Bowley. If you could stand up, Carter, for me. He is here as representative of Roane County Youth Leadership 2019. Okay, we'll move back on to our regular agenda. Approval of minutes for the October 17, 2019 meeting. Motion by Commissioner Hickman, second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Hickman.
Nothing further.
Commissioner White.
Nothing to add, sir.
Any other questions or comments? We'll try to do this on a voice vote so we can listen. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Minutes have been approved, October 17, 2019. Acceptance of committee reports and correspondence. Motion by Commissioner Berry, second by Commissioner Moore. Commissioner Berry.
I have nothing.
Yes.
You sure, Mr. Berry? Okay, I was gonna Commissioner Moore, go right ahead.
We need to give him another plaque.
Give me a resolution every meeting.
Not one up.
We're on a roll there.
Yeah, well, the rest of the one that's left. Everybody got me sick.
This has been a feel-good meeting so far.
Any other questions or comments on approval of committee reports and correspondence? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Like sign. Acceptance of committee reports and correspondence approved. Moving to the notaries, Madam Clerk.
Elizabeth H. Bolden, Pamela Long Byers, John Choate, Brenda G. Cordell, Skylar Davis, Jared Rick Houston, Renisha G. Maples, Cassandra Miles, Candace Monroe, Ellen Russell, Chelsea Scarborough, and Brenda Lee Young.
Got a motion by Commissioner Hendrickson, second by Commissioner Bell. I think he hit that amend on accident. Commissioner Hendrickson.
Appreciate your willingness, sir.
Commissioner Bell.
Same here.
Any other questions or comments on the notaries? We'll have to do a roll call on this since we're technically by TCA electing these notaries, so if you could vote, please.
Vote.
Yes.
This communication system got me whipped today.
Notaries have been approved by 14-0. At this point, it comes to the hearing of delegations. This is an opportunity that's been set aside on our agenda for the public to address the county commission. We asked if you're here in a group to try to address your concerns through a spokesman and keep your comments to 3 minutes or less, and this will be your only time to speak unless a commissioner yields to you later in the meeting. If you could step forward and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. I'm Tony Byer. Live at Bowman's Bend off of Watts Bar Lake.
I almost hate to get into this, but I feel the need. It goes back to the last meeting, which, as you all know, is pretty much a marathon meeting. And I wish Commissioner Gann was here, because he was the one that inspired me. He got up and spoke about the school votes that were had some time ago for the Oliver Springs and Midway. And I went back and checked, because I thought it was some time ago, but it was in October 16th of 18 paper that this board, this commission, votes to approve the plans for Midway and Oliver Springs. That was October a year ago, 13 months now. Then in November, now just a year ago, it came back and the funds were approved. $7.1 million were approved for those two projects, and which means our taxes went up. Now come, well, I don't know exactly the meeting, it was either June or July when the budget meeting happened. There was another tax increase put in. I remember it was a penny for firefighters, it was 2 or 3 cents for this, and 2 or 3 cents for that. Was it 6 or 7 cents? And part of that was kind of in for something to come. Here's what I understand. This commission voted to start the two projects 12-2. They voted the funding 13-1. And then the tax increase that came in June or July, with the funding from back last November and the one in June and July, it would actually fund the new value of 10 point whatever million dollars. But that didn't get approved last month. Now, as a taxpayer, I'm standing there, we approved 2 tax increases and we're not getting anything for it. I mean, it was explicitly voted, I understand the 7.1 wasn't enough, but now we're doing nothing, even though we got a tax increase, and I'm just, as a taxpayer, I'm somewhat confused why this commission couldn't get together and pass that last time. I guess it's not even on the agenda this week. But. So anyway, I just want to get my 2 cents in, because that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Byer. He's fresh off his Garth Brooks tour, so he had a good concert last night. The county executive, without objections, asked to address.
Mr. Bowers, just a big clarification. When they approved the funding in November or December, whenever it was, the tax increase last fall, you only do a tax increase if you're changing the tax rate once a year. So they approved the project. I mean, you're right on everything, except there wasn't 2 tax increases. There was just one.
For the total.
It was for the total, that's correct. But there was 1 tax increase, and it was for debt service. There was a penny that went to the volunteer fire department, the other went to the debt service for that project.
10 cents.
10.
Anyone else like to address the commission? Anyone else like to address the commission? Seeing none, we'll move along to the county attorney's report. And I've already tried to get out of him who his tailor is, and he won't tell me again today. So, Mr. Matthew.
I'm going to wear overalls.
Put that for the record.
Mr. Chairman, my report deals only with the letter we got from the Attorney General last month on the opioid suit. And there is a resolution at the end of the agenda pertaining to that. So do you wish for me to wait until that resolution comes up?
Is that the will of the commission? We'll just wait till it comes up. That'll work. Thank you. We'll move on to the county executive's report. And as you can see how quickly we're moving, Mr. Woody.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of things I have. First of all, Connie has passed out a financial report for the end of the month. We can take a look at that if you want to right quick. It's good if you're looking at that, if you're taking it home to get your budget out, look at those together. I'm just going to hit a few highlight numbers just so you can see kind of where we're at. So the first page, the first line is property tax. So this is the way we roll. It is November. We are 5 months into the fiscal year, and you can see we have collected a little less than 8% property tax. Okay. So, that said, that's the reason we have fund balances to cash flow our operations, because the biggest revenue source in the general fund at 8.5 million is property tax. We will get the bulk of that in December and in February. So each fund has a different fund balance because each fund cash flows differently. So part of our fund balance is for cash flow. So it just showed the budget estimate, actual collected, the percentage, and then the balance to collect. So the first 2 pages deal with revenue. At the bottom of the second page, the budget committee will look at that last number because this is going to change probably substantial for us. Contract prisoner board, last year we received over $800,000. The previous year was under 8. We had budgeted $800,000. We've received $250,000 so far. We estimated at $555,000. That number we are sure will be a whole lot less than the $800,000. People, we got folks in the sheriff's department, but most of the TDOC inmates, a lot of them have exited our jail already. That's where we collect this money. The rest of them are scheduled to probably go out in the next 30 days or so. So this number will be substantially reduced. The next page, you'll see the revenues end up at the top third of the page, and you begin with the expenditures. Just to draw your attention on the general fund on the next page, you have an account number 54210, jail. You'll see that. You'll see that the jail budget is $3.8 million almost. That number's not going to change a whole lot because we still have to have the same employees over there. So your expenditures will not change or drop a whole lot just because our TDOC inmates are out. We anticipate that number also going up because it appears that we will have to start contracting out for our locals. But there's been a committee that met today with the DA, the public defender. Commissioner Hester, I think, attended that. They're trying to do what they can to get the numbers down. I guess when we had our work session, it was about 320. We're down to 280 something now. So that number is continuing to change. Those pages conclude the general fund. There's a lot of details in there. And then each fund is about a page itself. 116 solid waste is a page. Then you have the ambulance department, 118, 121 special purpose, drug fund 122, 128, and then you got 131 the highway fund. That is our next general fund. You have the general fund, the general highway fund. The following page is the general purpose school fund. And as you go through these, you'll find that if you compare revenues with expenditures, we budgeted a whole lot more expenses than revenue, and that's because we anticipate a lot of the expenditure budgets. We ask people to be very frugal and not spend their money, so we do a calculation on that. The general purpose school fund is different than that. The way they have to adopt theirs, their budget is basically balance short $500,000 if they're doing a transfer. But on the revenue side, these are the little idiosyncrasies about our budgets. They have an account 44570. These pages it's page 11 of 30 on the top right hand side. 11 of 30. If you see the account 44570, you all see that?
Yeah. Yes.
$1.8 million. That's a fake number. Where we budget out of balance, they have to budget a revenue to do the same calculations we do. So that gifts and contribution, I don't expect we're going to have a benefactor out there that's going to give us $1.8 million. Okay, so these budgets have been worked this way for decades and decades, but if you're not in them day in and day out, you don't understand all this. If you have any questions on any of these, please call Connie. All right, anybody have any questions of the financials?
I got,
Commissioner Moore.
I had one question there.
Page number.
The verse 2, actually, 4110 and 4120. Was that, I was just gonna ask, and I got the reading down, so at this point in time, last year, we collected 45% as opposed to, is that what that means? You got the current property tax, very first one on the list.
The current property tax is 7.88. That's about where we were this time last year.
So, but for collections prior year, at 45.03, what does that mean?
That is last year's taxes that people are paying late, that we're collecting this year.
Okay.
So they're paying, so because of that, you also have interest and penalties being accumulated down there.
Okay, I just wondering if that's where we were.
That's the last year's levy where people are paying late.
Okay.
So that doesn't have anything to do with actual money that the trustees collected?
That is the actual money the trustees collected.
But I mean, I'm from all departments, that's just
No.
taxes, that's just the back tax that they haven't paid from last year.
That is in the general fund. Every fund, so the way taxes are levied when we pass our tax resolution is, it is a levy by fund. So when the money comes in and you pay $100 taxes, it gets divided among all the funds. And then if you don't pay this year, it becomes a prior year, and it gets levied by the tax rate on the prior year.
And on our contract prisoner board, as you mentioned there, so you can't really take the same percent that we're going to be taking out of revenues and apply that to expenditures. There's a lot of fixed costs in the expenditures.
Yeah. So you lose 20 inmates on a given day, 30 inmates on a given day. You still have to staff the control room with that one person. There's one person in control room. There's generally one person that's roving the pods and down. So there's three, I don't know, there's about 3 people in there at any given time on the upper part. You take 20 people out of there, you still have to have 3 people. You take 80 people out of there, you still have to have 3 people. You take 100 people out of there, you still have to have 3 people.
So what are we finding cost-wise from surrounding areas that we're sending inmates to on a cost per day basis?
We have talked about $60. That was when we were talking with Bob Bass, and he letting us know that there's facilities in Memphis and Hayward County. Chief Phillips is back there, Chief Hahn.
We've got a contact with Hayward County. They'll take the female TDOC prisoners. I'm still working with them, trying to get some details worked out. Ray County was sending a lot of their people to Anderson County, but Anderson County told Ray County to come get all their people. I called and talked to the chief up there and see what they can do to help us out. And right now, they've got an issue of their own, so that's probably not going to be a solution for us. So we're just trying to, we had a meeting today, just trying to see where we're at once we get rid of the TDOC people and I guess contact these other places that have beds and just see who's the best price. And, you know, logistically, it's going to be a nightmare, but.
Are you getting any prices, Chief?
Not yet, because we're still, we worked through a list of inmates today just to try to see who we're going to get out. I don't want to start housing folks if we can get them out, or they're talking about doing pretrial sentencing stuff with them, and they've also kicked around maybe utilizing the bracelets. So they're trying to get all that done before we get to the point where we're actually farming them out. And when it gets to that point, you know, we'll go with the best price, I guess.
And I guess the other question is, Ray County sends them to Anderson County, but they're still Ray County prisoners. Anderson County can say, come and get them at any time, is that right?
Anytime. And you know, from the way that I understand it, they had at one time an agreement, if they said, okay, we're gonna keep 20 beds for you, you know, while you're jockeying them people to and from court and to and from doctor's appointments, you're paying for 20 beds regardless whether they're there or not. So that's a thing that whoever is in the negotiation part of okay, we're going to do a 90-day contract, a 120-day contract. They're going to give you a set price, but whatever that set price is, from the way that I understand, it's going to be, it's 20 people that you've worked out. If you got 18 there, you're still going to get charged for 20.
Chief, how many state folks do we have?
And that number fluctuates, and this is kind
Okay,
of,
it's
it's a good question. Today, criminal court's going on right now. They got 9 people out, and now we got 9 warrants for 9 violations, so you're swapping people. So you get 9 out, you get 9 more back. We sent 8 to prison this morning, and we got more to come this week.
So if we're trying to get rid of state inmates, how do we get the state not for us to take new ones? I mean, it looks like we're fighting a battle that if the state is going to fine us or make us build a new facility, we told them now we've got a plan, we're going to get rid of ours. Well, how can they continue to send us?
Well, they're not sending them to us. You know, the thing is how they become a state inmate is when they come through our criminal justice system, they're incarcerated in our jail, they're pretrial. Once they come here, they enter into a plea or they're found guilty. The judge sentences them, and if it's a sentence that requires prison time, that's when they become a Tennessee Department of Correction inmate. And at that time, what we do, and I called Mr. Creech from the Department of Corrections. He's the guy that we called and said, hey, this is what I got. We sent them, last week I sent them 33 names of people that could go to prison. And so far we've gotten rid of about 15 of those. Now, there's more people that are TDOC, but they're on a split confinement. So what they do, they come to court, and it's a technical violation. It's okay, well, you're going to spend 120 days. You're still a TDOC inmate. The prison's not going to take them. They're going to do their time over here, and they may do 90 days, they may do 120 days. But when you have those split confinements, or anything more than 2 years, the prison, or under 2 years, the prison's not going to take them.
How many of those do you estimate that we would have at any time?
15.
So, Counselor, is there some way that we can pass a resolution or something asking the state the situation that we're given? They're paying us $39 a day. We're paying $60 a day to take these folks somewhere else. If they're not going to take all of ours, is there some way we can't get the state to pay the difference in what we're having to pay? If we're trying to find a place for them and there's no place.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
We had Senator Younger and Calfee here a while ago. We let them off.
Well, they weren't available. But is that something that's feasible for us to look at? If we're having trouble finding a place for those people?
Well, we can look at it, but I don't know what the answer is. But it's my understanding that the problem is if their sentence is under 2 years, the state's not going to take them, so they have to serve their time locally. And when they're serving their time locally, we're getting paid for them, is that correct?
$39.
$39 a day.
And then it's costing us to send them somewhere else.
Right.
It hasn't yet, but it's going to. So, and those prices haven't been talked about.
So what you want me to look at then would be, is are we locked into that $39 figure, or?
I think we're locked into the $39 figure.
Is there some mechanism in the law where it could be more?
But yeah, they're telling us we have to build a new jail. Those 20 or 30 people that are there for splits or whatever are going to be there. So they're counting against us. I think we finally established that those inmates don't count against our total now, or they do count against. They do count against our total now. We found out last week.
If they're in that jail, they count.
Okay, so basically we're being penalized for 30 people that we're trying to get out. We're going to have to pay $60 a day. If they're giving us 39, it looks like they would be responsible for that difference if they don't have jail capacity.
All right, I'll see what.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chief.
And I know Mr. Berry can contest to this. We've been here about going on 9 or 10 years, and that's the topic of every association meeting we go to, is that $39 a day for that. Mr. Meadows.
Thank you, Chairman Ellis. Mr. Phillips got a couple of questions that I believe you can answer. How many TDOC prisoners have been transferred out so far? I know we've had others in, but how many have we gotten rid of?
Well, and
I know
it's that number changes every day. There may be 2 getting released right now, so that's an ever-changing number. If they're on split confinement, we release them from over here. But that has actually been taken to prison. 8 went this morning. I've got 7 females, and I'm trying to get to Haywood County. They've got 6 more openings. It's just, it's actually took off pretty quick considering we're not the only jail in Tennessee that's got this issue. And, you know, everybody's kind of under the same, you know, ordeal. So when you call these people, you're looking at 95 counties funneling all their TDOC people into the prison system, which, you know, is kind of like herding cats, I guess you'd say.
But okay, and I guess if I'm hearing you correctly, we can say we're going to get rid of all TDOC or as much as we can, but then they're going to come on back in.
It's a never-ending cycle.
I mean, we can't stop.
That's right.
Because of the sentencing
Even when we're
guidelines.
not in session, here in the criminal court circuit, we take our inmates to Loudoun County, to Meigs County, to Morgan County. If there's an issue where the judge needs to see them, or they work out a deal, or whatever, or for sentencing. So it's 24/7.
When they're moving back to TDOC out of here, who moves them? Who pays for the transportation?
We do.
And do we provide the transportation? Do we pay for the transportation?
Yeah, we've got staff that takes them to wherever they go. And luckily here lately, we've just been taking them to Bledsoe.
But they're a state prisoner. Is there any reimbursement to us for any of those costs?
You know, the only thing that we've ever, and we've never really seen it, because it's not really happened that much. Whenever the Tennessee Department of Correction inmates incarcerated, and they get ill, they have to be hospitalized for more than 24 hours before we can be reimbursed any kind of funds. So when they're there, when they're ours, and whatever issues they come with, they're ours.
And one more last quick question. I know that there's been some discussion regarding the census or the head counts. Do the TDOC people, inmates, count against us?
I'm under the impression that if they're incarcerated over there, they're there.
Right, but
And they're counted.
when they
That
determine.
Mr. Bass said that the last time he was here.
But when you're looking
We've heard it both ways.
When you're looking at the two entities, TDOC and TCI, even though they're state entities, they are two different animals.
And then you got the fire marshal
And
as well.
that's another one, yes.
You know, and I think they all three count a little bit different, don't they? Or do they?
No, they don't.
You get 3 accountants together, we'll all count.
So here's the other thing that I want you to be aware of. There's 22 people that are temp released, and what that means is the feds have them, and they're coming back because they're ours. They're at a mental health hospital, they're coming back because they're ours. They're in Anderson County because they got court and they're there on a transport order, they're ours. So you got 22 people that is not counted in that 280 something from earlier that can come back any day.
And we don't control that.
No, we don't.
They just show up.
The feds will bring them out and say, hey, we're done. Or Anderson County Council, hey, this is ready to be picked up. Or Moxon Bid says, hey, we got this person here. So there's a lot of moving parts to this world.
Thank you.
We want to thank Chief Hahn and Chief Phillips for being here this evening. Thank you all. And I had Commissioner Hendricks, did you not want to speak?
No.
Okay. Then I had Commissioner Hooks. Did you not want to? Go ahead, Mr. Hooks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief Phillips, we moved the females out to Haywood County.
That's what we're going to try to do for the Tennessee Department of Corrections. They won't take any of the others.
They won't take it. But once they're moved out to Haywood County, we lose the $39 a day. It goes to Haywood County.
It does.
But we're not paying the additional.
Not for them, not for the state inmates.
Not for the state inmates, okay.
There's some jails that have vacancies, and they'll say, hey, we'll take a state inmate. They got to be Sunday school quality, zero health issues,
Right.
and that's hard to come by.
Right. I just want to make that point clear. They are a distinction between them. Then on the split.
Commissioner Hester.
So, Chief Phillips, today we had a meeting, probably the first time, I invited myself to it, but the first time ever, I guess, the public defender, district attorney, yourself, and members of your organization went row by row, name by name on the prisoners and identified pathways forward.
We had a real productive meeting today, probably one of the best ones we've had.
Yeah, I was happy to see it, seeing everyone work to try to lower that overall number. And I think it was very productive, and I think we're gonna have that meeting again, in 2 weeks, right?
I think, we're gonna try to meet on or before December the 2nd.
So what is our deadline that the state gave for us to have our numbers down?
December 4th.
December 4th.
Yeah, December 4th is when we go to Nashville for our, the TCI, and this is just me talking, I don't know that, since we've made a real big effort to do what's been done, I think we're gonna be good with TCI, and we're probably gonna be allowed to keep our certification. However, with the fire marshal, the way that the meeting that the mayor and a few of us were in last week, we've got to show them measurable progress where we have reduced the amount of inmates that's over there, you know, just for safety of the facility, you know, so that when you're in the event you have a fire or whatever emergency, you're able to get people out safely.
Yes, so let me jump in here just a minute, and I appreciate everybody taking my time since you all said speak instead of me, but let me jump back in here just a minute, and Chief, so on Wednesday, November the 13th, this was, I guess, after our Thursday meeting, I guess it was after, we met with the fire marshal. We met with their counsel, their attorney, their codes enforcement, and their policy individual. So we met with them, the sheriff, Chief Phillips, myself, who else was with us there? Randy, Commissioner Ellis. We met with the fire marshal about a path forward. At the time, we were looking at a population of about 320. They had no magic number, what we had to get down to, but they talked about the low 200s. So it appeared to us that we needed to get rid of almost probably 80 to 100. We knew that at that time there were about 50 or 60 TDOC, but of those we knew we wouldn't get rid of all of those. So they told us we needed to start looking to contract out to ship some of our inmates out. We recognized that Loudon is building, Meigs has no space, Morgan is building, Anderson is still building, Blount County's built. Yeah, there's going to be some available space, but it looks like most of it's in West and Middle Tennessee. So that said, working with Bob Bass, we have drafted a letter that will probably be signed tomorrow by the sheriff and myself. It's a 2-page letter going to the state fire marshal. The state fire marshal, in it, we talk about this judicial committee that met today. We talked about having a top to bottom to top review of probation service and to have some recommendation to maybe enhance it or change it. The ad hoc committee that Commissioner Meadows chairs the other evening looked at a pretrial diversion department to be set up potentially, and that being discussed. All of that is outlined in the letter. It's outlined in that along with the resolution that you all passed last May that dealt with this $1 million to borrow it to get our sites ready. So the TCI then forwarded us a letter of, I may have got it yesterday, today sometime. It's about 6 pages that is kind of reiterates what we have sent to them and told them the whole time for a plan of action to them. TCI, Bob Bass, TCI, they indicate that if we stay on a plan of action and they see effort being made, their regulation says that we will continue our certification. That does not mean that the fire marshal will, but we do think that if they can see a substantial reduction in our inmates, that they will be okay with that, and they see measurable progress is what everybody talks about. Are we seeing measurable progress? So we feel very optimistic by this committee meeting, by us exploring the probation will be studied by both TCI and UT. It will not be something that we are studying, and as we've talked before, if probation changes and it comes in-house, it falls under the executive branch, the judicial branch, and the law enforcement branch. They cannot govern that. The same thing with the pretrial diversion. It will not rest there, it will probably rest in my office. So that's one reason I've never been excited about bringing those in-house, quite frankly. But we have a plan of action in place, and it will cost us money, we know, by the loss of revenue from TDOC, and by the inmates. It appears that there's no way out of us contracting out. Outside of, like we said the other day, we got 3 options. You build more beds, you contract out, or you let them out. Now, letting them out, so to speak, comes into a number of programs that may be acceptable. So that is kind of where we're at on that. Any more questions about that particular part of the jail? Because we have a letter drafted, and once we sign it, and we've worked with Bob Bass, and we've edited it going back and forth, and it's really, I said, we passed a resolution a week or so ago of that $1 million. It's on the agenda again tonight to reaffirm that passage, just because of ensuring that we have adequate notice. I said we won't do anything until, the Monday night, November the 18th meeting. And then if that goes, we'll send you a letter and we'll start the process again.
Commissioner Hester, we're still into the financial portion of your report, so we need.
Well, and all this is kind of financial,
Right.
yes.
I had Commissioner Berry.
That's fine.
Commissioner Moore.
Just an observation. This is a statewide problem, obviously. It's nationwide. If you watch TV and they're doing, I mentioned something to somebody the other day. I said, used to, you'd hear a lot more about the rehabs and things like that, and I'm sure there's probably a lot going on. But with the state, as a state, and it looked to me like, I don't know, there's no such thing as free money, we all pay it, but it looked like with everybody, the counties being in the same situation just about everywhere, and NACO and all that could probably help. It looked to me like we could apply for grants and things because of this opioid epidemic, where we can show that, and a couple $1 million here or something like that, instead of us carrying the whole bill. I don't know if there's anything out there, but we got a gaggle of good representatives.
Well, that's a good question, and that's the reason we've got $1 million worth of drug grants out there.
Right.
But the $1 million worth of drug grants is it's dealing with recidivism, is more as the initial incarceration and the punishment. So it's a long process, and we have a number of grants out there and apply for a number of grants. I plugged the newspaper. I wrote articles in Friday's paper. Hope you all had a chance to read it. And it basically says that county government, we're a political subdivision of the state. So we are conducting activities that have been legislated that we conduct. Used to, every city had a jail, but since they didn't have to, they all came to us. And now you have the state with this inmate population crisis that they're just pushing it down to us. And so it's a matter that we need to take up with our legislators. There's no question. We have it, everybody else has it, having it too.
I just thought we might have asked that question somewhere in the right setting somewhere. So look, y'all are telling us we got to do this, and you're mandating it, but it's mandate without funding.
I'm not so sure the state really recognizes the problem we have, that you're giving us $39, your people's taking our beds, and we have to pay maybe $60 to $100 to send ours out. Or we may even send ours out there, but it's
It was just a thought. I mean,
complicated.
It's been asked or whatever, but so.
I think the legislative committee could have their hands full starting about January.
Well, they probably could now.
Mr. Berry had one question.
And that's what I had written down.
As I understand it, there's $1 million grant, mental health grant, that only Morgan County has even shown any interest in.
Well,
that closes the 26th.
Well, you know, we sent, or it was supposed to be sent out today to Senator Yeager's office, a request of, we've never heard of it. I mean, I've got a grant staff that has not heard of this, so we sent a letter to, hopefully it went out today to Senator Yeager, an email to his staff saying, let us know about it. Now, I was vaguely aware of it because the mayor in Morgan County executive called me last week and he says, what do you know about this? I said, I know nothing about it. And he talked about it was a construction project of $1 million.
It's brick and mortar for mental health, but
yeah, I'm thinking what's $1 million going to get you on the mental health issue out there?
Well, that's $1 million more than we had, and I think if you have somebody call Senator Yeager in the morning, in an hour or so, we'll get, if we're interested in that.
Yeah, well, we've sent an email out there, and I'm not so sure. Like, you know, one thing we have to watch.
I think one of the questions you had too was the ongoing cost afterwards. What?
Yeah,
I don't think there is any. I think this is.
We don't know about it, and I guess is the big thing. So we're out there looking for it, but I'm not so sure the state is aware of that $39 worth $60 to $100 that could be impacting us and every other county out there.
We're still under your report, Mr. Woody.
The only other thing I wanted to say, and this, we've talked to the budget committee a little bit about it, and maybe as mentioned a little bit at the ad hoc committee the other day, the measurable progress in the $1 million was trying to get us approval to see where we go. I'm assuming that gets approved since it got approved the other night. But what we're going to have to do as a team is determine, how we're going to progress with that once we have the authority to do it. Once we have the money of $1 million authorization, we're going to have to come together as a body, because I'm not doing this on my own, and it's not, even though the appropriation there, and determine what the avenue is to address vacating that lot over there, because I think that's what they're looking at. They're looking at, okay, you've talked about building for 8 years now. We've seen some progress of acquiring property. At what point in time, and we're fixing to raise 2 of the houses over here for construction, lay down yards, parking and stuff, but the real big one that we're going to have to deal with is what now is the building and codes. Do we want to look at building an office complex for them? Do we want to rent a spot out for them? Do you want to move them into the courthouse? Do you want to just abolish building and codes altogether? I mean, you've got some options that we're going to have to be collectively making a decision on, and I don't know, they talked about coming in the courthouse, but I mean, do you save money? Well, then you have to rent out space for the reappraisal team every 3 or 4 years. And then you have to deal with the tractors and trailers coming to the courthouse. And you got to deal with, the contractors that you try to make the job as easy as they can, having them wait 30 minutes on a Tuesday morning to get a permit because it's court day and they're not standing on the first floor, they're going to the 3rd floor. I mean, there's advantages to bring them here, but there's a heck of a lot of disadvantages I don't think we want to put in. So I say that to say, folks, there's some decisions that we're going to have to make here in the next 30 to 90 days that are measurable. So I've been calling around about empty buildings in town that has an adequate parking lot and a turnaround space for vehicles, because we've got the pictures. We can show you at any given time a contractor comes in and they've been down to Lowe's, or they've been to Ace Hardware, or they've been to Scanlon's, and they got stuff on their vehicle, or it's empty and they're fixing to go there and pick it up. Mr. Chairman, I don't know where we go on that, but it is a big decision to make going forward, and my report should have been 10 or 15 minutes, but everybody wanted to ask questions.
Commissioner Berry, then Commissioner Moore.
Just food for thought.
Do we still have the lease down on the building at Midtown there for some vehicles and things? Isn't that about $36,000 a year or something?
It's about 1,800 a month.
Is that something that we can, I think it comes due in June or July?
Well, and there again.
Is that something that we can find places south of the river or someplace to vacate and use that money temporarily for a office lease
Well,
or
it's
something?
it's probably not acceptable for an office.
No, I'm not talking about there. I'm talking about replacing that money if we can do something temporary, just to get out of that situation.
And you need to deal with the sheriff's department, because the sheriff's department, that is one of their storage facilities.
I hate to ask this question, but could you give a very brief, for some of the new commissioners, what he's talking about? Very brief.
So the county has, in the Office of Emergency Service, a lot of equipment. The sheriff has a lot of equipment. So when the county purchased the rescue squad building south, the OES vacated the premises down in Midtown, which was a warehouse. And we moved all that equipment under Tim Suter down south. The sheriff was needing space for a lot of reason. And again, is it because we didn't have enough of a lay-down yard over there or whatever, but they have occupied that facility. So it was out of the OES budget, and people on the OES committee knows this, and the Sheriff's Liaison Committee probably knows this, that lease agreement changed. Roane County still has it. It went from one budget to the other, but that is a sheriff's question.
It's in Midtown, right behind where Mike's Barber Shop, right beside the French's.
Chief, is that something we could look at and see? I think
You got a boat in there and
We got a lot of stuff in there, you know, we do have a lot of equipment, got a DUI shredder, got a couple other trailers that we use whenever we get stolen property, got some of our tactical vehicles, we got a lot of stuff there.
that's fine. I was just looking to see if there's some place we can vacate.
And again, you know, the question is, we could build a facility for that. I mean, we've got land leased from TVA at and it was for some of that warehousing. I mean.
Well, I think at one time we even talked about down at the landfill, right? Building some place for the sheriff to store some stuff at the landfill.
Well, they've got I don't want to say, they have a place under security down there.
Okay.
They put.
Commissioner Berry.
Thank you.
Commissioner Moore, did you have something?
No, it's been answered, it's been talked about.
Mr. Woody.
That concludes my report.
Moving on, we'll start back under special orders, confirmation appointment of John Howe to the Roane County Board of Public Utilities due to the resignation of Greg Pallas. The term will expire June 20th, 2020. I get a motion on the board, a second.
It's frozen. We're gonna just, sorry.
Motion by Commissioner Berry, second by Commissioner Hester. Commissioner Berry.
Yes, John's a very fine guy. He's a former airplane pilot, military pilot. I think the only thing here is we really haven't received, and he represents our district, but we've really never gotten a resignation letter of any kind from the current member. And I think we just need I'd like to see us put something in place where at least the commissioners know when somebody from their district's coming up and on a resignation. This time, I mean, there's no problem. He's a good guy, and will no doubt do a great job. But I think in the future, if we can just have some kind of plan in place when we get a resignation. Usually it's in the minutes, and this coincides with not getting their minutes and us replacing him without any commissioners know anything about it. So again, we got lucky. John's a good guy. Thank you.
Commissioner Hester. Nothing, Paul. Any other questions or comments? If not, Madam Clerk, could you call the
Bell?
Aye.
Barry?
Yes.
Bowers? Yes. Rushiers?
Yes.
East?
Yes.
Ellis?
Yes.
Gann?
Yes.
Hendrickson?
Yes.
Hester?
Yes.
Hickman?
Aye.
Hooks?
Yes.
Meadows?
Yes.
Moore?
Yes.
White?
Yes.
And Wilson?
Yes.
It's 15 yes.
appointment of John Howe to the Roane County Board of Public Utilities is approved. Moving to old business, Resolution 9/1916, a resolution authorizing the issuance, sale, and payment of capital outlay notes in an aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $1 million. Motion by Commissioner Meadows, second by Commissioner Hooks. Commissioner Meadows.
Well, I think we've all heard of the need to do this and go ahead and carry forward and show measurable progress to alleviate the jail issue.
Commissioner Hooks.
Nothing further.
Any other commissioners on Resolution 9/1916?
This is the same thing, right, as last
Last
last meeting, and we're passing it and appropriate the funds when you bring it back.
Well, funds will be appropriated, we just need to sit down.
The purpose, as you mentioned, the meeting.
We need to sit down
Thank
and
you.
see our direction.
Any more questions or comments? We'll let the clerk call this, if you could log back in your system while she's doing this. Madam Clerk?
Bell?
No.
Barry?
Yes.
Bowers? Yes. Rushiers?
Yes.
East? Ellis?
Yes.
Gann?
Yes.
Hendrickson?
No.
Hester?
Yes.
Hickman?
Yes.
Hooks?
Yes.
Meadows?
Yes.
Moore?
No.
White?
Yes.
And Wilson?
Yes.
12 yes and 3 no.
Resolution 9/1916 is adopted. Moving on to new business, Resolution 11/1901, a resolution authorizing the county attorney to file a lawsuit regarding the properties as listed on attached case request form by violating Roane County Resolution 11/1209 and/or Resolution 11/1208 regarding the 2012 International Building Codes and the 2012 International Residential Codes. And we get a motion by Commissioner Meadows, second by Commissioner Hickman. Commissioner Meadows.
I yield to Mr. Coker if you'd like to address any of these.
Mr. Cofer.
If anybody has any questions pertaining to any of the particular cases, I'll be glad to try and answer them for you.
Any questions? Mr. Meadows.
Not for me.
Commissioner Hickman. Any other questions for Mr. Cofer on Resolution 11/1901?
I know what you're building on.
Thank you. Okay. If we can, ready to vote? Yeah.
My tablet ain't loading, so.
Oh. Resolution 11/1901 is adopted. Did you find it on Stanley?
I got
I'm gonna vote no, as long as I can't read it.
You're not able to load it earlier today, or?
No,
Okay.
I've been locked out of this thing.
I have a motion. I'm going to take a brief recess. We get Mr. Hendricks and everybody on the same page. About a 5-minute recess. Regarding Roane County zoning resolution and/or resolution 1/1403 regarding overgrown vegetation accumulated debris. I got a motion by Commissioner Hester, second by Commissioner Bowers. Commissioner Hester.
Nothing falls, let the pictures speak for themselves.
Commissioner Bowers.
Same.
Any other commissioners? Questions on 11/1902? We'll go ahead and vote. Resolution 1119 passes by a vote of 13 to 2. Resolution 11-1903, a resolution to authorize the county executive to execute a multi-year agreement with Comcast Business for supplying fiber internet connection to the courthouse. Motion by Commissioner Hester, second by Commissioner Meadows. Commissioner Hester.
I think with the time the technology changes, we need to faster data links here.
Yes. Yes. Commissioner Meadows.
That's long overdue, we need to.
Any other questions or comments on Resolution 11-1903? Commissioner Baker.
Is that the only one that we could get?
Is Comcast the only available internet provider here, Ms. Farnham?
No, we have currently Comcast, and it's a GSA contract, and the pricing is very good.
Is any other available though? I don't think there is. AT&T.
So, but thank you, Ms. Vaughn. It'll be 100 megabyte a second download link, right?
Yes, I think so. Is that right, Kenny?
Yes, 100, 100.
Okay.
Commissioner Bell.
Oh, that's good.
Any other questions? What are we now, Mr. Berry? You got on your app, see what we're at?
Kim, I'm on there right quick.
Any other questions or comments on Resolution 11-1903? Not, we'll go ahead and vote. Resolution 11-1903 is adopted. I believe Resolution 11-1904 has been asked to withdraw. Okay, we'll move on to Resolution 11-1905. A resolution to amend the General Capital Project Fund 171 TEQ by allocating the balance of a 3-year TVA grant awarded to the Roane County Office of Emergency Management. Motion by Commissioner Hickman, second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Hickman.
All about free money, let's get it.
Commissioner White.
I have nothing to add.
Any other questions or comments? You're fine, go ahead.
Does it, what kind of equipment is it?
Tim, have you decided what the equipment, Have you decided what the equipment was on it? All these grants that we approved ended up going to the OES committee, but this is one of those 5-year, 3-year grants.
This is the grant. This grant requires the equipment we purchase to be able to be used in response to their facilities. So it can be anything. I think for this grant, we were purchasing level A suits. Sorry, the hazmat suits.
Any other questions or comments? 11-1905. No, we'll go ahead and vote. Resolution 11-1905 is adopted. Resolution 11-1906, a resolution in support of efforts by the Tennessee State Legislature, Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Tennessee Valley Authority to control and prevent the spread of invasive Asian carp, especially silver carp, in all East Tennessee waterways, especially those located within the boundaries of Roane County, Tennessee. Motion by Commissioner Hickman, second by Commissioner White. Commissioner Hickman.
I think this is probably one of the most important issues that we're facing. I think the efforts of everyone involved in looking at that, we really need to get serious about protecting the white spot.
Commissioner White.
I echo Commissioner Hickman.
I got a motion by Commissioner Meadows to amend.
Mistake.
Okay, gotcha.
Commissioner Berry.
Yeah, I put this resolution in because Asian carp is probably the most talked about topic in East Tennessee right now. And for some reason, a lot of counties surrounding us aren't taking it nearly as serious as we are. One reason, we have more miles of shoreline than any county around us. Secondly, our Environmental Review Board has done a super job of getting on top of this. It started with the aquatic weeds, now the Asian carp. And all this is doing is just asking, Senator Alexander, if you saw in the paper, has allocated millions to helping us, but it's not near enough. Folks in Minnesota just now are getting on board with the right kind of stuff that we need. And I'm not sure if you're getting emails or not from the board about what's actually happening. Tim Joseph has done a phenomenal job of keeping our folks aware, and some cases maybe doing too much because he's not taking no for an answer from anybody. But the Asian carp, one female can lay between 50,000 and 5 million eggs. So once they get here, you don't eradicate them. They're here, and they're here forever. And if you've seen any videos of them, you've seen they can jump 10 to 12 feet. They'll get 6 to 8 to 10 pounds in weight. They've actually caused concussions, all kinds of accidents. And basically, from our tourism standpoint, it kills our lake. The land between the lakes has been destroyed. So this is all this is doing, is just asking for help from the proper authorities and trying to, and this also will go to some other counties to try to get them involved as we are. So appreciate your support.
Commissioner Meadows.
I think Commissioner Berry said it very well, but we do have more shorelines than anyone in the state, and we have more to lose. And it takes cooperation from everybody. It's our livelihood, it's our future, and it's a really large part of our economy. I mean, this can be absolutely devastating to Roane County, so we have to support this in any way possible.
Commissioner Moore.
I think we need to figure that out now. Could have been skillet or something. Just a left-handed comment here.
Point of order, I can't hear. I can't hear.
You know, we can get millions of dollars for weeds and fish, but we can't take human beings and put them in the jail and do anything with them. And I know it ain't got a thing in the world to do with that. You just kind of, it's a wonder to me how we spend our federal dollars when we're really needing help talking about human beings. So.
Since you brought that up, I think out in Paris, Tennessee, the IGA started selling Asian carp fillets, no joke.
Well,
Yeah.
you know,
No, I've talked to the mayor and stuff out there, and they've got a big market in California, but just remember, you're not, Washbar's posted, so if they're here,
Right now.
it's posted, so you're not gonna be able to, it's a commercial fishing business out there, but you can't commercial fish on Washbar.
Yeah.
Commissioner Moore.
There again, my point is very well taken. We protect the fish when we protect the human being, so. But I don't expect anything less than that, you know. When we can pay for abortions for people, but we can't pay the places to take care of kids, so. That's just my.
Point taken, Mr. Moore.
I'm good, thank you.
Resolution, any more questions on Resolution 11-1906? No, we'll go ahead and vote. Resolution 11-1906 is adopted. Just right quick, Mr. Barry, I ran my internet speed. For everybody that's got internet issues at home and here, we're at 0.75 for our download speed. So that's, my house is like 984.
0.64. You get here next week sometime.
Moving to Resolution 11-1907, resolution in support of reestablishing an invasive species committee under the Roane County Commission oversight and direction with the scope of this committee to address issues associated with the control and prevention and spread of invasive species within the boundaries of Roane County, Tennessee, especially those that have a direct negative impact on the economic base and environment. Invasive Species Committee will be the singular contact for all issues that fall under the invasive species umbrella, with examples including but not limited to invasive aquatic weeds, invasive Asian carp, and invasive plants within Roane County. Motion by Commissioner Berry, second by Commissioner Hendrickson. Commissioner Berry.
Yes, I just put this one in, again, to go with the other resolution. Environmental Review Board, again, this goes back to our old, when we had the aquatic weed problem, and we instituted this. Mr. Chairman, it really doesn't matter. If this needs to be an ad hoc, there's no problem with how it gets, or who is appointed. I just thought in response to the Environmental Review Board, we needed to have a committee that was working with them, because this thing, we need to have somebody that's on top of this thing all the time.
What I would like to see, and I appreciate your point, the resolution, the Environmental Review Board, like you said earlier, has done a lot of terrific work on this subject. And personally, I would feel more comfortable if we would send this directive to the Environmental Review Board and let them appoint a committee, and they can put a commissioner or two on it, but let them work within their umbrella, since they got the expertise, and Dr. Joseph's own that ERB, so he might be a good fit for that. Do you have anything further?
I'm fine with however we do it. I just, unless you wanted to have two commissioners and 3 or 4 of them, I really.
Okay, right, let me get to Mr. Hendrickson, and I got a motion to amend. I got a motion to amend by Commissioner Meadows.
Chairman Ellis and Mr. Berry, I was kind of thinking along the same lines. I think they'd be better served under their umbrella, because honestly, they know who to choose, who has the expertise to do that. And I would propose that we ask them to form not even an ad hoc committee, a continuing committee under their umbrella, comprised of 5 individuals, one of which would be a commissioner of their choosing.
Well, they can put as many, that's fine with me. If they
just
want.
some sort of odd number to make recommendations to us.
So we've got a motion by Commissioner Meadows to amend this resolution directing the Environmental Review Board to form a committee that falls under this parameter, and to include a commissioner on that committee. Does that sound?
Yeah,
Is that all right with you, Mr. Berry? You take that as a friendly amendment, Mr. Berry, Mr.
To include how
Hendrickson?
many members on the commission?
5, did you say, or 7, whatever you?
Let's say 7, because that's...
Okay.
7. So you took that as a friendly amendment, a friendly second. Mr. Meadows, do you have?
If we're gonna do 7, why don't we put 2 commissioners, just so they feel
That's
like
what-
we've got skin in the game.
That's fine.
I'll make that
The
point.
committee, the ERB to appoint a committee to deal with this specifically outlined in the resolution, and 2 commissioners to be on that 7-member body. I got a second to that amendment?
Yes.
Well, we took it as a friendly amendment, that's fine. Do you have the amendment recorded? Are you good with that?
I do. Yes, sir.
So we're ready to vote on the motion to amend the resolution. Wait a minute, it's not popped up yet.
It is, it's up there.
It's not on our thing though
Oh,
to
sorry.
vote.
No, I've got some men.
There, motion to amend.
We're voting on the amendment.
Amendment to motion to amend to send it to the ERB to create the committee. Resolution 11-1907 has been amended. Now we're back on Resolution 11-1907 as amended. Mr. Berry, any more comments, or?
No, fine, thank you.
Commissioner Hendrickson, you had the second?
None further.
Any more questions or comments on 11-1907 as amended? If not, we'll vote. Resolution 11-1907 is adopted as amended. Resolution 11-1908, a resolution to opt out of the negotiation class in the National Prescription Opioid litigation. Motion by Commissioner Meadows. Second by Commissioner Hendrickson. Commissioner Meadows?
I'll defer to Mr. Lephew to tell us what we need to know regarding this issue.
There were various federal lawsuits filed throughout the country by various governmental entities against 13 pharmaceutical manufacturers and suppliers that made or distributed opiate-type drugs. And these lawsuits claim that these manufacturers and distributors misled the medical industry about how addictive these drugs are. And they also allege in these lawsuits that these manufacturers and distributors knew that there were a lot of improper prescriptions of opiate products, and they had a duty to inform the authorities of that, and they did not. And these lawsuits claim that because of these actions or inactions on behalf of these 13 defendants, the local governments have had financial burdens dealing with the opioid crisis, dealing with treatment issues, dealing with the impact on the criminal justice system. And back in 2017, 200 of these lawsuits were combined into a federal court in Ohio to administer those lawsuits. In October of this year, that federal court entered an order that made every city and every county in the United States a party to that lawsuit for the purpose of trying to negotiate a global monetary settlement with these 13 defendants. And basically under this order, which we are now, Roane County is now a part of this negotiation class in this lawsuit. Basically under this order, if there is a global settlement reached, before the court can approve it, it has to be approved by 75% of the members of this class, which means we would get a vote. And then if the settlement is approved, the money will be allocated to the different cities and counties based upon a mathematical equation, and please don't ask me to explain it because I don't understand it. But your percentage of any settlement is based upon the number of opiate prescriptions in your county, the number of opiate-related deaths, and the number of opiate-related addiction. Now, under this court order, if you, as a county, do not want to be part of this class and part of this global settlement, if one happens, then we have to submit some papers signed by the county executive on November 22 that indicates that the county has opted out. Now, the advantage of staying in this is you don't incur litigation expenses that you would incur if you went out on your own and filed your own lawsuit. And the litigation expenses in this would be pretty astronomical, would be very high because of the nature of expert testimony that you would have to hire in order to prove your case. But the disadvantage of staying in this is, like any other class actions matter, you've got one vote, your if it settles, you're stuck with whatever is allotted to you. And at this point, you don't know what that's going to be. Of course, at this point, we really don't know if we went out on our own, what our damages would be or what we would seek to recover. But anyway, based upon this, I prepared Resolution 11-1908 that if adopted, it would authorize the county executive to opt out of this lawsuit. If you opted out, then you would preserve your right to file your own lawsuit if that's what you at some point chose to do. And then if you want to stay in this class action lawsuit, you don't have to do anything because you're automatically in it.
Commissioner Meadows.
Mr. Levy, do you have a recommendation for us on this?
I do not, simply because I don't have any data or any information as to what we would likely be able to claim as damages if we went out on our own.
Okay.
But I can tell you that in order to prosecute this suit, if you go out on your own, you're going to have to hire medical experts, chemists.
It'd be very costly, wouldn't it?
Economists, and on top of that, that is to prove that you have damages. But you're also going to have the burden of proving that these 13 defendants knew that there was a problem and hid that, and you're not going to have any guarantee of having access to what the other plaintiffs have found. So you will have to hire some support staff to deal with all of the rooms and rooms of documents that you're going to have to get and go through.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, we'd have to hire our own legal team, experts, and...
You're going to have to hire expert witnesses, and you're going to have to invest some money in employees to make this suit winnable. Simply, I mean, this is not something that I and my one secretary can do by ourselves if you did decide to file a suit.
Commissioner Meadows.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hendrickson.
Yeah,
Commissioner Berry.
Yes, at our county commissioner convention this last time, opioids and jails obviously were the big things. State representative came and said to us that the state of Tennessee, I guess, has worked with some other states, and what happens on this thing is the opioid settlement won't be anywhere near the tobacco settlement was, and what the defendants are wanting is they're wanting 18 years to pay it off. So there's very little money on an annual basis coming in to anyone. They figure it was about a $75 million deal for Tennessee. So then you look at Davison and the big counties and stuff. So that's why I think the state joined with what they did. So I'm guessing that if the state thought that this was something that they could do on their own, they would have done it on their own. And like the counselor was saying, I think it started in Ohio with some counties in Ohio.
The two big suits originated in Ohio, just based on what I've read. But all the federal suits were consolidated in Ohio because that was the center of the area where everyone could come to.
And I think the other thing is, every piece of evidence that we pick up has to be on our own, right? We can't go back and use what they've used in Ohio or somewhere. We've got to come up with our own.
Well, we don't have access to that because there's not been a trial. And the evidence is contained in the offices of the lawyers who are prosecuting or defending those cases. There's not, the evidence is not in a court file that one can go to and pull. Now, once there is an actual trial, then there will be evidence available that becomes a matter of public record. But right now, no, there's no guarantee we would have access to what the other parties have accumulated.
And even then, it's costly. Whatever you do is a very costly deal. But I thought it was interesting that they already are talking settlement-wise and trying to get it out over 18 years. So it's going to be a long, drawn-out thing. You're going to pay up front for your legal fees, and you're going to get something back on an installment basis.
You're going to pay up front for your litigation expenses, and you're going to have to hire a team of expert witnesses.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Hooks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think the DA's office got a grant a couple of years ago trying to compile some of this information. But I'm telling you, Roane County, that the data that they will be asking for, we're nowhere, we're not ready. I mean, we don't have the data. It's only in the last couple of years, I think, been even looked at here in Roane counties. And up to that point, we didn't have no data. And Tim may know better than I, but I don't think that it would be hard pressed, even if we had a team of experts, it would be hard pressed to even find the data within our county to support such a case.
Commissioner Bell.
So if we support it, if we don't vote to this, that puts us liable to have to hire X, Y, or Z to get this thing through.
No, if you adopt this resolution, then you're out of the class and you're out of that lawsuit. So if you want to seek recovery for opiate issues, you'd have to file your own lawsuit.
Then it would cost us.
Yeah, that's what.
But if we don't opt out of it, it gets fought for us for free of charge.
It gets fought for you free of charge, but you got one vote on whether or not you want to agree with the outcome.
Right, which, how could that hurt us?
And like I say, it's just you really don't have any control over the outcome.
Right, but how could that hurt us? Could it hurt us financially?
Well,
If
like
we
I
stay
say,
in it?
I don't know, because like Commissioner Hooks said, we really, to my knowledge, we don't have the data to show that how the extent of how the opioid crisis has affected Roane County government. So if we had an idea as to what damages we might accrue, then it might be worth looking at filing a separate lawsuit. But if we don't know what we're likely to recover, then it's probably not worth filing a separate lawsuit.
For some reason I'm not understanding.
I think to clear I understand what Mr. Bell is asking. If we opt out of this lawsuit, we'll eventually, if we want to file something, we have to do it on our own in the future.
We have to do it on our own.
Right, and if we vote no on this tonight, that keeps us in the lawsuit.
That keeps us in.
We don't have to, we're going to get something,
And
yes.
it's paid for and we could get something.
Correct.
Yeah, it's paid for and you
It's
could
no
get
brainer.
something.
Very good, good, thank you.
Commissioner Moore.
I'm not an attorney by any means, and don't deal with the judicial system much, but personally, I'd rather go up against that counselor a year ago with me and get some stats that I put together and say we had 32 died last year of this, and the population 50,000, I don't know, I'm just thinking of numbers, rather than put us one out of 1,000 counties across the, I don't know if that would make any difference for the jury or whatever. I know you see class actions all the time, so. And I don't know that it means anything, I just seem like if you decided you was gonna go against it, you know, other than the cost, we can put a whole lot more effort in if we ever decide to do that. Of course, on the other hand, we don't have to do anything, we're just included, so. I'm not dead set against it, I just feel like we remove our ability to ever file a lawsuit if we go in this class action, is that correct?
You can file a lawsuit, you can still file a lawsuit, but if this class action settles before your lawsuit is resolved, then that gets rid of your lawsuit. You can't collect twice.
I'm good. I've got mixed feelings. I don't know if we'd ever get to that point, but I know we've had a lot of people died in a small county that it might be easier to tell somebody than it would be. We've had 1,000 deaths with 100,000 people or whatever in a county like ours.
So just to clarify, before we vote on this, a yes vote would be opting out of the negotiation class. We'd pretty much be on our own moving forward.
Right.
A no vote on this would keep us in the class action suit where we would join with everybody else and we wouldn't have no out-of-pocket expenses.
Right.
Does everybody understand that?
Just for clarification, in whereas if Roane County remains a member of this class action lawsuit, it will receive a share of any monies awarded to the class. However, it will be bound by the outcome of the lawsuit. And then it says opts out of the class action lawsuit. Okay, so therefore resolves it then. So we need to vote yes.
Okay. What do you vote?
No, that ain't what he just said.
No, if we vote yes, it knocks us out of the class action.
Yeah, if you vote yes, it knocks you out of the class action.
If we vote no, we stay in the class action.
The free.
Yeah. So any more questions or comments? Is everybody clear on what a yes and a no vote means before we vote? Madam Clerk, we'll take the vote.
Yes, we stay in, no, yes.
No.
Yes, we're out, no, we're in.
Right.
Resolution 11-1908 has failed. Right quick, we got the 13th Annual Founders Day coming up here on the second floor, November the 26th at 6 p.m. And I also want to ask all the commissioners and the public to please continue remembering Brenda Hendrickson in their prayers and Junior's family. She's still fighting her battle with cancer. Please remember them in your prayers. Commissioner Berry.
November 25th, a week from tonight, 6:15, we'll light the county Christmas tree at Roane State campus. Everyone's invited to be a part of that. Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, right quick, tomorrow night, everybody, 6 o'clock at the bus garage for our joint meeting with the school board. That's tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Motion by Commissioner Bell, second by Commissioner White to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Adjourn.
Welcome into the Locker Room Chat. I'm Chase Clem alongside Matt Hagan. Welcome back, Mr. Hagan. And joined in by the one, the only, John Williams. They call him Sleepy. What's going on, Sleepy?
Pretty good, Chase. Just got a good show lined up. We have no guests, so you have to watch three knuckleheads up here. Now,